Welcome back to Kris Greenhill's Garage. I'm Kris.
And I'm Kris, and my car is broken again. We were driving along and we both noticed that the wheel bearing in the back was a lot louder than it had been. When we got home, got out of the car, something was smoking in the rear end.
We thought that the smoke was the wheel bearing, considering the timing. The wheel bearing started screaming louder. Pull up, there's smoke coming from the rear end area, mostly on the passenger side. Okay, we smoked the wheel bearing, which we did. We definitely smoked the wheel bearing, but that's not the only problem. When we went to move the car, we realized we had no brake pedal at all. So we have no brake pressure. And the rear pot of the brake master cylinder is completely empty. It's not a good thing. So while the rear wheel bearing, axle bearing, whatever, is definitely smoked because it is screaming and howling like crazy and is soon to lock up, the rear brake splitter that mounts on the differential in this car, the one that takes the one brake line and splits it to both sides of the brakes, has finally finished braking and is now pouring fluid all over the exhaust. That was actually the source of our smoke. 9 months ago, I made a video on tearing apart and investigating the howling sound in the Ford 8.8-inch rear end. I found a lot of little things that I fixed, but the howling has never gone away. It's never gotten better. I suspected it was a wheel bearing, and I've suspected that it's a wheel bearing for quite a while. Pretty much known it's a wheel bearing, and I knew it needed replaced. But I've been procrastinating for a reason. Amongst all the other numerous repairs we've had to make, if I was going to tear apart the rear end in this car, I really wanted to wait until we had C-clip eliminators and we were going to be able to grind off the end of the axle tubes and seal the C-clip eliminators and just do all that. If I had to open up the rear end again, I really wanted to wait to do that. That isn't possible anymore. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to take apart the rear end, we're going to pull the axles, we're going to replace the wheel bearings, and we're going to replace that rear brake splitter. Sadly, no C-clip eliminator kit. It just wasn't in the budget. It wasn't going to be here in time. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, the car doesn't really need it for a street car, but I really wanted to do it, but it's not going to happen. What is going to happen in this video is while the axles are out, we are going to replace the crappy 2-inch rear axle studs with 3-inch ARP axle studs. That way we can run the proper wheel spacer in the back, make the tires look right, and be able to safely run a wheel spacer. Right now we have these long shank lugs on these Cobra R's to try to get a little bit of thread on there because we have a small wheel spacer, but it's the biggest wheel spacer we can safely run on stock lugs. So we are going to replace those. Sadly, someone here, not naming names, forgot to order the wheel studs. No reason to name that person. Just someone somewhere made an administrative error and forgot to order those wheel studs. So they are not here yet. There's no need to name this person, but they're going to be here tomorrow afternoon at some point.
I think the person who forgot to order the things was the person who's in charge of the money in ordering the things.
Your mother?
No.
Can we both agree to blame your mother?
Yeah.
All right. It was his mother. So today our wheel bearings aren't here, our axle studs aren't here, our brake splitter isn't here. So today what we're going to do is a little project that we've attempted in the past and failed, and we're going to attempt again. We're going to try to tighten the steering wheel on Junior's car. We're going to start on the rear end and the brakes tomorrow. For today, we're going to jack up the front end, and we're going to try to take this slack out. As a new driver who's not accustomed to driving jalopies, Junior really doesn't like this going down the road. It makes correcting the steering kind of difficult. So we're going to lift it up, see if we can tighten this up a little. And then tomorrow, Junior gets to learn the joy of opening up rear end. The aroma is intoxicating. You're going to love the smell of burnt rear end grease. It's going to be incredible. You missed it last time. You were in school. So anyway, we're going to get to work. Kind of difficult to see, but here's the steering shaft moving back and forth. It appears to be this bottom knuckle, because the steering box doesn't appear to be moving. This slack appears to be in this bottom steering knuckle underneath the header next to the motor mount. I think we need to loosen all of the bolts on it and retighten them and see what happens. I can just come up under here and physically move this. So I'm just going to loosen all this stuff and tighten it back up. The Green Hill curse. No matter how much RTV, no matter how tight I make this thing, freaking front seal leaks. We've got oil all down the length of this thing. It just wouldn't be a Green Hill Mustang if it didn't. Alright, so all these lock bolts are stripping out, giving me a heck of a time. It's not fun, but this is basically what we've been dealing with. And I just realized this bottom knuckle that attaches to the steering rack only has one bolt in it. Top one has two. Bottom one has one. It's probably why this thing is loose. I'm not sure it's going to get any tighter than it already is, but I'm going to try it. Took all the slack out of this bottom one. It's 100 times tighter now. And now I've come to realize how much slack is in the top up here. Oh man, those things are horribly loose. Oh yeah, that's super, super loose. And the steering wheel's still a little loose. So I'm gonna see if I can get to those and tighten them. Well, with the bottom all tightened up, look how much slack we have up top. So I got to get that apart and try to tighten that up. Well, I have all of these as tight as humanly possible, and now I have slack up here. Move the steering wheel, Chris. Oh, for the love of God. So I got to see if I can tighten that bolt up somehow. Oh, this is so annoying. All right. Well, I tightened that knuckle down, that bolt, and now the steering shaft is no longer clacking like it was, and the whole thing seems to be moving as one assembly all the way top to bottom. So let's go check the steering wheel. This is 100% better. Now, that's the play in the steering wheel before the wheel moves. The steering wheel and the wheel are actually connected now. You barely touch the steering wheel and the wheel moves. That helped tenfold. We're going to put the car on the ground and see how much slack there is with the car under full weight. Car's on the ground now. Oh yeah, barely any movement. And even that little bit of movement is moving the wheel. Now we have a good firm connection from the steering wheel to the wheel. I think that'll help Junior a lot in his driving. That's it for today. You can tell all I did was the steering rack, and I am coated in oil and grease. We have just a tiny little front seal leak, but it's fine. It's fine, no problem. Anyway, our bearing puller just arrived. Our bearings, our brake splitter, and our 3-inch Moroso rear wheel lugs or studs will be here tomorrow. So we'll be back at this tomorrow, and time to go shower and end today. Before we get started tomorrow, you get PB Blaster, and you get PB Blaster, and you get PB Blaster. Everybody gets PB Blaster. Try to loosen all this nonsense up before we get under here tomorrow and take everything apart. It's still the same day. I've just noticed a pretty big problem. The brake splitter that we have on order looks nothing like this. This one you can see is RTV'd. It is drilled and tapped and bolted into the rear differential. That is not a factory style. Let's go look at white trashes. I forgot to videotape crawling under white trash and looking at the brake line splitter. Suffice to say, it doesn't look anything like that. It is not the same, but I think I've found what it is. It is this part number right here. I completely forgot that Kris Jr.'s car in 1982, even the GT, would have come with a 7.5-inch rear end. Someone clearly threw an 8.8-inch rear end in this car, didn't change out the brake lines. So this is the part number you need for this type of brake splitter. It's the next day. We're back. And we're so enthusiastic about it. I worked overtime last night. I'm tired. Don't really want to be here, but it's time to get going. Junior, take off the wheels. I'm going to start taking off the brake lines. We have parts waiting on us, so we got to get this thing apart. By some miracle, all the brake lines just popped loose instantly. It's nice and easy, whether it was the PP blaster or just good luck or they just weren't installed all that tight. They just came off, no problem. Including this one up here on the soft line. Here's the part of this project I thought would give us the worst trouble. The brake adapter thing. It pretty much just came apart easily. There you can see the fender, the ripped apart line. Just old, it's dry rotted. Anyway, on to taking apart the rear differential. That is how you RTV a rear differential. All the bolts are out, not a drop of fluid coming out. Junior's going to go and get the dead blow hammer and loosen this thing up. Our drain plug is completely stripped out. Will not come out. We can't just drain it the normal way. Yay. The boy is trying to make fun of me from our TV job, and yet he's the one having to hammer a screwdriver into there to break the seal. As much as I like to watch you struggle, go ahead and upgrade hammers and just hit it with a real hammer. Look at all that fresh, beautiful oil just wasted. You're lucky, boy. We're not doing drum brakes today, but those things are hell. You would not enjoy it. Yeah, it looks like this brake cylinder, wheel cylinder over here is leaking a little bit, but that's a problem for future Kris. We do not feel like messing with drum brakes today. Things look pretty good in here. Everything is rolling pretty smooth. There are no obvious signs of wear. There's no metal in the case. The fluid looks nice and clean. Now we got to get this thing apart. Just a tiny little bit of slack. C-clips removed. Someone here, not naming names, may or may not have forgotten the retention bolt on the pin that holds the axles. No reason to name names. Slide the axle out, boy. There we go. Just go ahead and remove it all the way. You're going to get wet. I would stand up and move. This is not what I was hoping to see. That bearing actually looks pretty good in there. The howling sound seems to have been coming from this side and keeps getting louder. I really thought this bearing was going to be completely chewed up and destroyed. It really doesn't look bad, which sucks. The brake assembly is off. Definitely not the smoking gun I was looking for. That's frustrating. I think we're going to replace a perfectly good wheel bearing, but too far in and now to back out. Just messing with the bearing a little bit. This popped out, but this still looks like it's in really good shape. I don't understand. This bearing looked good. That was in place when it was driving. Ooh, that was locked up though. One of those rollers is locked up. Oh no, once you click it in, it rolls again. This bearing really doesn't look bad. I'm not sure what the deal is here. I was 100% positive these outer wheel bearings were bad because of the noise they were making, but I think we're about to replace good wheel bearings. That is less than ideal. There's a small piece of metal inside the axle tube. I did not have getting the seals out being the hardest part of this job on my bingo card. Also, this bearing looks really good. I'm not happy. That bearing came out insanely easily. I don't like it. I think we're replacing good bearings and I'm not happy about it. Another brutally hard bearing seal to get out. Another easy bearing to get out. The bearing looked good before I pulled it with the slide hammer. Definitely not it. I don't think this is going to be our noise. Since we can't find a smoking gun, I'm going to have to do what I didn't want to do. Go ahead and just pull the gears out and check those bearings in there. It would have been negligent if I didn't go ahead and pull the rear end, the differential. These gears, these bearings, they look average. However, this was ripped apart in there. This was wedged down in this thing. This was on here. This was like this on here with this ripped up, one of our shims. I do not have a differential shim. That's gonna suck, but I got to see if I can get bearings for this, and I just realized I do not have an external bearing puller, so this will be fun. I didn't realize there are still other shims left inside the differential. This is the same side. This is the passenger side, just like this, and these are both chewed up all to crap. Found some small little metal pieces in the area around it, so we're going to need to get a differential rebuild kit and see if we can't replace this stuff. Great. I completely forgot to mention earlier, we know why this failed. This cap over here, this rear end differential main cap over here, was hand tight. Kris Jr. got the air impact and didn't need it at all. Both bolts popped out of there with no effort at all. That one was torqued down normally. This one was hand tight, and I'm sure that's what led to all this damage on the passenger side. An update on things. So we have a new shim kit on order. It'll be here in like 2.5, 3 hours. We don't have a press to get these bearings off. These bearings look really good. We're going to leave them alone, clean them off, clean them out, put them right back in, hope for the best, and send it till we bend it. I am confident, though, that this shim kit is the source of all our problems and that replacing it will eliminate most of our howling sound. Until our other parts arrive, we're going to spend our time replacing our crappy stock wheel lugs with these Moroso 3-inchers. Supposedly, these just hammer out and these just draw back in. We'll see how this goes. Good job, boy. We have hit one hell of a standstill with our Moroso wheel studs. We have tried all the lube and the grease in the world, and that is as far as we can get them to pull in. Our poor air compressor is about to have a heart attack. It's a 6.5 horsepower, 30-gallon air compressor and a big impact gun, and it's saying no moss. That is as far as they will go. These are the ones recommended for this car, .615 knurl. We just cannot get them to drive in at all. We've been doing this forever. I don't know what we're going to do. New plan. We're going to go ahead and move on and do the other stuff that we can do. Get the new bearings in. We're going to wait until we put these in the car. Lock the brake. Lock the transmission and gear. I'm just going to try a giant cheater bar and a torque wrench and see if I can draw these in some more, because this is not working. New bearing is installed. We're about to put the new seal in. Do not hit this with metal. Kris and I found a very large round stick, put in here, tapped it in, and then we also used the old bearing, put the old bearing up here and hammered on it using the stick, and that seems to have seated it pretty well. Time to put the seals in and move on to the other side. And the completely unnecessary and useless part of this job is now done. We wait a little bit longer for our truck to come in. go get the rest of our parts and start on the rest. The brake line and brake splitter that just practically fell off the car earlier were an absolute nightmare to get to go back on, but they are done. We just finished installing the gears and the shims and everything. Kris Jr. just learned the absolute hell of trying to hold shims and bearing caps and everything in place while trying to line this up. I don't have a dial indicator. I can't find it. And I'm not buying a new one. This is our slack with the car locked in gear. I'm going to call that good enough. We're kind of stuck. We're at a stopping point. The brakes are ready. The rear end is all back together. We cannot get the Moroso wheel studs to seat. We've been trying everything. We even tried putting the drum back on it and torquing it across all four evenly. None of them really moved. I'm not sure what we're going to do. Since we can't get these lugs to seat, we went ahead and bled the rear brakes. Nothing is leaking right now. All our new piping is holding strong. I'm going to go up and feel what the brake pedal feels like. We bled the brakes. This line over here was leaking slightly, the driver's side. Tightened it up. We bled them a couple of times. We're not getting any more air out of them, but they're just not feeling very good. I guess we'll have to wait till we go on an actual test drive. I mean, considering that when we parked the car, the pedal would go to the floor and do nothing. I mean, it's doing something now, but just doesn't feel as good as it used to. I guess we'll have to wait till we test drive it. We can't test drive it until someone seats themselves. We're done for the day. We are defeated. We're going to try to go get something to eat and shower and come back at this tomorrow and hopefully finish it. It's 4 days later. We never got to come back to the car the next day, and today Junior's not here, so I'm going to do what I can to see if I can get these studs to seat. Since Junior isn't here, I got this lug nut installer tool, and I'm going to give it a shot. I'm not overly optimistic, especially the way this one is put together. The bearing that generally turns against the back of the stud on this one isn't really spinning, so I don't have much confidence in it, but let's see. As I suspected, it has not moved. I tried all four of them, numerous attempts. You could just stick your finger back behind the lug and have nothing to worry about, or behind the stud, because they haven't moved a millimeter. My next idea was recommended by a friend of mine. I gotta wait for Junior though. Pull the axles out. One of us will hit it with the air wrench from the front. One of us will hammer the back of the lug as hard as we can with a big hammer, but I'm going to need a hand with that, and I don't have anyone available right now. When we do that, I think I'm also going to get a new torch and heat this thing up as much as possible and then try it. I would do that right now, but I don't have a torch currently. We're back, and we were tired of playing around with this thing. We're going to torch the living crap out of this, use the stud puller, and hammer the crap out of it from behind and hope for the best. It's about an hour later. We finally got these things seated. So much heat, so much hammering. The installer tool did absolutely nothing. It was the hammer and the heat with a little bit of lube. 2 out of 10, do not recommend. Second one is done. Junior's putting it back in the car. We are tired, cranky, and frustrated. Shut up. I did all the work.
I did it all.
Shut up, loser. The second one, we just ditched all semblance of technique or anything else, and I just came over, double overhand axe smash with the hammer until they seated while he held the axle. Time to get this thing back together and pray. Axle's reinstalled. Brake drums are back on. We got the differential cover cleaned. Got gasket seal on it. Kris Jr. is running it back down, tightening it up. We're going to fill it here in a minute. So, we did not think this through very well, how we were going to get this big gallon jug of gear oil into this rear end. So we're doing it very slowly over an overflow jug. Oh, crap, stop. Yep.
I did.
Before, with the stock lugs, you can see how far down in the nut that the lug is. After, with our Moroso studs, you can see how far out this thing sits, even with a wheel spacer on it. Small wheel spacer, but still a wheel spacer. Unfortunately, I accidentally scarred one of our lug studs a little bit on the threads. It's got 3 or 4 threads right in the middle of it that are really sticky and a little hard to get a nut to go over. They're a little misshapen. Nothing insurmountable, but that is annoying. These studs are so hard that it's really hard to reshape them, and I don't have any kind of die big enough to recut them. Anyway, it should be fine. We tried to spray off the bottom of the car, but this thing is going to smoke forever. We spilled so much rear end grease, and our fan blew it all over everything. The exhaust, the rear end, the floor. It is going to smoke for the rest of eternity. Put her on the ground, boy. Finally, test drive time. I'm going to handle the first part of the test drive just to feel out the brakes, feel out the rear end, see how they sound, see how they feel, make sure there's nothing dangerous, nothing wrong. Finally. Well, the steering is a lot tighter. You're going to like the steering a lot better, buddy. I definitely hear the rear end just a little bit. We'll see how it sounds out on the highway. So far the brakes are feeling really good. The rear end is making quite a bit of noise. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but the brakes feel really good. Pulled over to check on things because we had some noise in the rear end. Everything seems normal. Nothing looks loose. Nothing looks like it's leaking. Guess we'll just take it on the highway and see what happens. Yay! Rear end sounds the same, maybe even louder. I don't know. It feels good. Everything feels smooth. The steering is nice and tight. You're gonna like this. But the rear end worries me. I think it's louder than it used to be. What do you think?
It definitely is louder.
Damn it. I don't know if that's a good thing because it's tighter and it was getting loose, or it's a bad thing. It really only does it under throttle. When you let off, it quiets down. It's silent. You give it throttle, the rear end starts whining louder like the engine. Let off the throttle, it's quiet again. Weird. You're gonna like the steering, buddy. You move the steering wheel that much and the car moves now. You're gonna like this. That's it. We're done. Right, wrong, or stupid, we're calling it quits. The car is back on the road for at least today. Good enough, right? Rear end is acting kind of weird, so we noticed it whines on acceleration and it whines on deceleration. Just cruising, just rolling around, it's fine. I don't know what the deal is. Look, don't do what we did. I know I needed a dial indicator. Couldn't find one, wasn't going to buy one. Just like I used the butt dyno to see if a car is going faster, I used the finger indicator, the finger caliper. Felt good enough. Shims felt good, so that's what we went with. It is not right, but it is the way it was done. The car's back on the road. We managed to fix the steering wheel perfectly. The brakes feel amazing, so we fixed that properly. The rear end, like 50-50 shot, it lasts another week or so, and that's good enough for us right now. It was a long, tiring process. If it comes apart or anything goes wrong with it, I'll buy new pieces and I'll get a dial indicator and I'll put it back together the right way. But for now, all of my gears have always whined a little. These whine a little bit more than a little, but only under certain circumstances. Oh well. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.